From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Tonight, 4 students of the Federal University Lafia Nasarawa State kidnapped. Management of institution seeks urgent intervention by security operatives to rescue them. Chief of Defense Staff says declaration of bandits as terrorists has changed the fight against insurgents, restates commitment of military to democratic rule. The president expresses confidence that the nation will overcome current security challenges, calls for fair assessment of his administration on the matter. And U.S. accuses Russia of plotting to stage an operation to create a pretext to invade Ukraine. Plus, international news from our studio in London. On business news tonight, price of cooking gas set to drop as NLNG plans 100% supply of liquefied petroleum gas to the domestic market.
On sports news tonight, Australian government ready to delay efforts to deport Novak Djokovic until the conclusion of his renewed legal challenge over his visa cancellation.
And from Abuja, Governor of Interior of Adamawa State says People's Democratic Party governors are working in unity to ensure the party produces the president in 2023.
With security, where 4 students of the Federal University Lafia Nasarawa State have become the latest victims of kidnapping in the country. They were said to have been forcefully taken away to an unknown destination by heavily armed men who stormed their residential apartments in the Maraba area of Lafia, located close to the university campus. A statement by the head of the Information and Public Relations Unit of the institution explains that the attack occurred at about 11:30 p.m. on Thursday. The statement adds that the Vice-Chancellor of the University, Professor Shehu Abdurrahman, has formally notified the Commissioner of Police at the Nasarawa Police Command of the incident. He's also assuring families of the students that efforts are on to ensure their children are rescued unhurt. And following the recent designation of bandits as terrorists, the nature of the fight against insurgency is changing. This is according to the Chief of Defense Staff, General Loki Irabo. The Defense Chief has also stressed the resolve of the military to keep the territory and integrity of Nigeria intact, while also reaffirming the subordination of the military to the nation's democratic institutions. The Chief of Defense Staff was a guest on our Sunrise Daily program today.
Today, I believe that Nigerians are no longer in doubt as to the subordination of the military to civil rule. I believe that no one is in doubt that democracy has come to stay. I believe that no one is in doubt any longer that the current military leadership, and of course, since the democratization in 1999, that the military is well focused to perform its constitutional roles. And so going forward, I believe that some of these misperceptions that some Nigerians have had with respect to military engagement will begin to change. Our tactics, techniques, and procedures for engaging the bandits have actually changed too. The weapon systems engagement, that is the deployment of different weapon systems, have also changed. And of course, within a very short time, you will see the impact of this engagement. Those who are involved are talking about the bandits themselves. They are feeling the heat. I'm sure if you keep your ears very close to the ground, you will hear, their rumblings. And going forward, I believe that, peace certainly will return to every part of the country where they have had sway hitherto.
And while General Irabo's comments may be reassuring to Nigerians, the people of Niger State are currently fleeing the heat of insurgents' attack. Governor Abubakar Sani Bello has described the recent incidents that claimed the lives of some villagers in Shiroro local government area of the state as insane and unacceptable. In a statement, the governor called for intensified action by governments and security agencies to ensure that the desperate terrorists who are on the run are brought to justice. According to him, it is now time that full-fledged war be declared on these unscrupulous elements since they have been proscribed as terrorists. He expressed sympathy with the victims of the affected communities, especially those in Kaduna and Wurukuchi, saying that he shares in their pain and grief. And arising from the renewed operational strategies in combating insecurity, the president has expressed confidence that the nation will overcome the prevailing situation. President Muhammadu Buhari, who admits that his administration is fully aware of its responsibility to the security challenges, urges Nigerians to be fair to his government in assessing the issue, bearing in mind the situation when he took over in 2015. He was speaking when he received the Grand Khalifa of the Naira Islamic movement worldwide at the presidential villa.
The nation's stability and peace is uppermost on the president's mind as he receives Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State and a delegation of Tijaniya Islamic movement worldwide led by the Grand Khalifa at the State House. Prayers for Nigeria is one cardinal mission for the Islamic group at a time Nigeria battles challenges of insecurity, poverty, among other issues. The president believes that his government will continue to do its best, confident that Nigeria will prevail over the protracted insecurity challenge while looking to deploy coherent and consistent policies to deal with terrorism.
All I can say, I hope God will listen to our prayers, bring stability, and we need your prayers. But I assure you that we are acutely sure of our responsibilities, and we will continue doing our best. And we hope God will listen to our prayers.
In a statement released by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, the President reiterated that Nigerians assess the security situation objectively as he describes the successes recorded as a decisive break from the past. Moments later, Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State, in a chat with State House correspondents, advocates for bigger laws to curb the challenge of al-Majiri in the country.
Unless if there's a universal legislation preventing the movement of children, school-age children from one state to another, is a problem that will continue to be here for a long time. But we have enacted a law. Any parent that does not put his child into school will be prosecuted.
According to the governor of Kano State, the Tijaniya Islamic movement will transcend just beyond prayers to contributing immensely towards reforming the educational system. As a matter of fact, al-Majiri children in their thousands have been evacuated already from Kano State, but this leaves millions of more on the streets, a challenge begging for a more integrated solution. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuki, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, exceptional professionalism and competence, this is what the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Alkali Baba, is asking the newly promoted senior police officers to display. For the police chief, this is what the country needs at this period of increased complexity of crime. Mr. Alkali Baba gave this charge at the decoration of senior police officers in Abuja.
We are moving straight.
Newly promoted senior police officers getting ready to be decorated by the Inspector General of Police. The senior officers include 2 Deputy Inspector Generals, 6 Assistant Inspector Generals, and 17 Commissioners of Police. Before the commencement of the decorations, the Inspector General gives them a charge to see the promotion as a call to professionalism in the light of the security challenges in the country.
Let me, however, remind you
that to whom much is given, much more shall be expected. Crime, as you all know, is a dynamic and increasing complex phenomenon, and the citizens of this nation, as well as the leadership of the Nigeria Police Force, demand of you higher level of loyalty, courage, incorruptible disposition, and professional competence needed to positively alter the policing and internal security narratives of our beloved country.
One after the other, the 25 officers file out to be decorated by their spouses. Among them is a couple, both of whom were promoted to the rank of Commissioner of Police. Also decorated is the Lagos State Police Commissioner, Mr. Hakeem Odumosu, who is promoted to the rank of an Assistant Inspector General. For the newly decorated officers, the promotion is a spur for them to do more.
We want to see what we can possibly do to impact seriously on the current level of professionalism of the entire workforce of the Nigerian Police Force. Very healthy respect for the rights of the citizens so that we can all see ourselves as Nigerians. Let there be healthy respect for the rights of the citizens, and of course we ensure a situation where the rule of law prevails.
It's a challenge, and with that challenge now, with their support and support of everybody in the country, we shall move country better and safer than we met it and before we got this promotion.
The Inspector General of Police is promising to collaborate with the Police Service Commission to identify and elevate deserving officers with unblemished records.
Staying with security, in Zamfara State, the police command has been giving account of the recent successes recorded in the fight against crime. Among them is the arrest of 8 suspects for criminal conspiracy, culpable homicide, dealing with human parts, cannibalism and theft, among other crimes. It also repelled bandits' attacks, recovered a rocket launcher and locally fabricated guns in Ankara, which was recently attacked by terrorist Angumi Axis.
A corpse of human being was found in an uncompleted building at Barakullahu area of Gusau, with his 2 hands and legs tied with rag and head covered with a polythene bag. On the 4th January 2022, at about 2:00 hours, police detective acted on intelligence reports and arrested the above-mentioned suspects in connection with the case. During interrogation, the second suspect, Abdul Shakur Mohammed, the 20-year-old boy, confessed that this was the 3rd time he was contracted by the first suspect, Aminu Baba, a 57-year-old man sitting down here, to source for human parts for him at the sum of 500,000 naira. The said Aminu Baba has confessed to the crime, and in his revelation are assisting police in investigation in arresting other members of his gang. He further confessed that he usually eats human parts and identified throat as the most delicious part of the bodies. I want to call on members of the public to acknowledge the effort of the security agencies in combating crime and criminalities in the state, and continue to pray for the sustenance of peace and tranquility in Zamfara State and Nigeria as a whole.
In part 2, after the break, Governor Wike gives 48-hour deadline to local government chairmen in River State to identify illegal refinery sites in their areas or leave office. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. 4 students of the Federal University Lafia Nasarawa State kidnapped. Management of the institution seeks urgent intervention by security operatives to rescue them. Chief of Defense Staff says declaration of bandits as terrorists has changed the fight against insurgents, which states commitment of military to democratic rule. The president expresses confidence that the nation will overcome current security challenges, calls for fair assessment of his administration on the matter. And US accuses Russia of plotting to stage an operation to create a pretext to invade Ukraine. Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State is taking his fight against illegal refineries to a new dimension and has given a 48-hour ultimatum to the 23 council chairmen in the state to identify illegal refinery sites in their areas or prepare to leave office. Governor Wike issued the ultimatum during a meeting with the heads of security and local government chairmen in Port Harcourt. He also announced a cash reward of 2 million naira for every site discovered by the chairman, accusing security personnel of providing cover for the operators of the illegal facilities.
Every council chairman was going to identify where the illegal refineries are taking place. Every council chairman, you must. If you identify one, 2 million for anyone, identify one. And you are given 48 hours to have gone to identify all those areas. 48 hours. Any local government that does not submit the list where the bunkers, where they are doing the bunkering, and whom they are, prepare for a war too. You cannot just be chairman of local government and be sleeping there. No, nobody does that. Nobody does that. You must fight for it. You must fight crime. And this is one of the worst crimes. This is even worse than Boko Haram. This is worse than Boko Haram, killing you silently. They're damaging the economy of the country. I'm not bothered by whether federal government is supporting us or not. We owe a duty. We owe a duty to our people to protect their lives. Because if you cannot protect the lives of your people, then there's no governance. Now, on the security side, it's unfortunate for this country how security people will be involved in illegal bunkering. I can't believe it.
And away from Rivers, more reactions to the lifting of the suspension on Twitter operations by the federal government and the Minority Caucus in the House of Representatives describes the declaration as further demonstration by the APC to suppress constitutionally guaranteed rights of citizens. In a statement by the minority leader of the House of Representatives, Ndidi Elumelu, the caucus holds that freedom of speech and opinion by Nigerians, including expressing such through social media tools such as Twitter, are clearly guaranteed in the 1999 Constitution. In his words, our caucus holds that the declaration of a lift on the ban on Twitter amounts to regulatory approval on freedom of speech, which is completely unknown to our laws. The caucus wants the APC government to be open to the views of Nigerians and make adjustments for the good of the country at all times. And let's go over to our Abuja studios where Terry Kumi has some more stories. Hello, Terry.
Hello, Millicent. Absolutely more stories from here, but let's shift our gear to politics now. Governor Umar Fintiri of Adamawa State says his counterparts on the platform of the People's Democratic Party are working in unity to ensure the party produces the president in 2023. According to him, the PDP is working out modalities that will salvage the current situation in which Nigerians have found themselves. He was speaking in Yola, the Adamawa State capital, during the swearing-in of 21 local government caretaker committee chairmen.
I want to assure you that all the PDP governors are working together to ensure that what you are yearning for, the change you are asking, the change you are looking for, to bring in the president of this country in 2023 is sacrosanct on every one of us. And that is why we are working all year round to ensure that this party is further strengthened, because we cannot afford to fail Nigerians. Nigerians are waiting for PDP in 2023, and it is on us, your leaders, the leaders of the party in all the states that PDP control, to ensure that we get the best for this country.
Meanwhile, the Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum have met in Abuja, the nation's capital, and declared that political parties that field northern presidential candidates won't enjoy their support in the 2023 general elections. In a communique issued at the end of the meeting, the leaders agreed on the country's indissolubility and the need for restructuring and power shifts to the southern region after the 8-year tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari in 2023. The leaders maintain that the constitution and structure of Nigeria are grossly flawed and lopsided, and demand the enacting of a new constitution that would enthrone equity, fairness and justice. The forum also alludes to the fact that the northern part of the country would have fully enjoyed the office of the presidency for the full statutory period of 8 years by 2023. Hence, the presidency should rotate to the south. It therefore calls on all political parties in the country to zone their presidential tickets to the south. To health matters now, 395 new cases of circulating mutant poliovirus type 2 have been confirmed across 27 states and the Federal Capital Territory by the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. The executive director of the agency, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, in a statement, attributes the outbreak to immunity gaps in children owing to low routine immunization coverage and the suspension of several polio campaigns in the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Faisal also notes that the circulating mutant poliovirus type 2 is different from the wild poliovirus, which the World Health Organization gave its polio-free certification to Nigeria in 2020. He, however, gives the assurances that his agency will scale up routine immunization, especially in the affected states, in order to curb the spread of the mutant poliovirus type 2. Still on health, the nation recently experienced a surge in the number of new COVID-19 cases, reporting as high as 612 new infections on December the 12th, 2021, with Lagos and the Federal Capital Territory featuring prominently on the table. Officials of the FCT Health Secretariat are attributing the surge to the influx of travelers into the FCT during the festive season, as well as the willful non-compliance to the non-pharmaceutical interventions. The Federal Capital Territory is one of the hardest hit areas by the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria, recording a total of 27,782 confirmed cases and 241 deaths, ranking next to Lagos with a total of 97,320 cases and 761 fatalities. Between June 2020 and March 2021, when the federal government rolled out COVID-19 vaccines, the Federal Capital Territory saw a spike in the number of infections and hospitalizations. But the numbers began to dwindle as more people got vaccinated, with the FCT recording as low as 9 cases on October the 4th, 2021. However, the numbers began to spike again during the festive season.
I want to say in the FCT and Lagos, which will also form the hub of this mass movement, and particularly people that are coming from outside the country, the epicenters across Europe and Americas and UK coming into the country. Those are the entry points, and you expect that the interactions with people not observing the non-physical protocols, and then the massive population movement would also be like the dry grass, making this thing to boom. And in our own case, like the negligence, just as we have observed, that people are not observing the non-physical protocols, and they are deliberately wishing this sickness away.
On the streets of Abuja, many residents do not adhere to the use of the non-pharmaceutical interventions. Vaccine hesitancy is also high.
Some are saying that as far as they are concerned, they have taken the jab. Some are saying, okay, we have run tests and our tests always come out negative, so we will not be putting on the face masks, washing of hands and others here. Some are saying they just have general fatigue.
I could remember at a particular time, if you go to Wuse Market, you even see people at the entrance. You are not putting on masks, you are not entering. So I think the awareness is very low for now. That is why we don't see people adhering to COVID-19 protocol for now.
Notwithstanding the recent surge, the FCT Health Secretariat says the treatment centers are not overwhelmed.
We have treatment center at Global Teaching Hospital, and we also have a national hospital. We have this day. We still have best spaces there. Unlike what happened in the third and the second waves. What we are seeing now is that the symptoms, people that are positive are not having symptoms, particularly those that have been vaccinated.
So far, statistics from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control reveals that the FCT has recorded over 27,000 cases of COVID-19, 241 deaths, with 2,740 patients still on treatment. Still ahead on the news at 10, price of cooking gas set to drop as the NLNG plans 100% supply of liquefied petroleum gas to the domestic market. That's on Business News. Join us again.
Welcome back to Lagos. We continue with health. Mental illness is a sickness that some people ignore, not aware of the extent of damage it causes in the entire human body. This next report focuses on how mental health affects lives and what the Lagos State government has put in place to help support those suffering from it.
The absence of good mental health is often related to depression, anxiety disorders, autism, schizophrenia, amongst others. Data by the World Health Organization shows that 1 in 4 Nigerians, that's an average of 50 million people, suffer from mental illness and related disorders. In Lagos State, latest reports from the Ministry of Health shows that out of all mental health issues, more cases of depression were reported, with post-COVID disorders standing at 15.8%.
Are you feeling confident?
In April last year, the state government launched a mental health call center known as Lagos Lifeline to help affected people deal with some of these issues. The Mental Health Crisis Management Service is designed to bridge the gap in the availability of mental health service. Before the call center was launched, the state government recorded a number of cases between October 2020 and March 2021. Total inbound calls within the period was 1,179. Those outgoing was even much higher, 12,918, coming from the very young to the middle age, with first contact resolution rate at 61%. Meanwhile, the deadly global pandemic has also contributed to anxiety disorders recorded within the period.
As you all know, we are still in the COVID pandemic, and COVID itself is a source of great anxiety and all kinds of mental issues and distress. But speaking specifically, we have 3 levels of hospitals in Lagos, or health facilities: primary, secondary, and tertiary. And we're developing mental health capabilities at all 3 levels to create a healing environment for people with mental disorders and also for those with rehabilitation issues. And we're focusing also particularly on drug abuse.
Getting the right kind of help is a good start to the healing process, a reason why the state government cautions against stigmatization.
Mental health is an illness like anything else. Challenges to mental health illnesses are illnesses like any other illness and shouldn't be treated with any kind of stigma. People need help, they get better, and that's all it's about.
Mental health stressors can occur at any time, And so the Lagos State government is asking residents who detect the slightest change in behavior to call the Laswell Center, speak to a therapist, and get help as soon as possible.
To all the stories, Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State has read the Riot Act to members of the state's Executive Council on financial impropriety and incompetence as the administration enters its final days. The governor issued the warning at the Government House while inaugurating 13 new members of EXCO following the resignation of some appointees to stand for election, while others were affected by a cabinet reshuffle.
Why I charge the new appointees, both honorable commissioners and special advisors, to sustain those positive leadership qualities that qualify them for appointment. I wish to draw the attention to the fact that they have assumed office at a time challenges are numerous and expectations are very high. They have to bring their wealth of experience to bear on our collective determination to respond to these challenges and expectations. These include the imperative to meet our obligation as government, as well as enhance our capacity to respond effectively, even with lean resources. You must acquaint yourselves with our policy document, our collective vision for a new Benue, as well as the manifesto of the People's Democratic Party, and hit the ground running.
To some company news now. Parallax Bank Limited has been added to the list of commercial banks in the country. The bank officially launched its operations today after being certified by the Central Bank of Nigeria to carry out commercial banking services. Its managing director and chief executive says the bank is the first in Nigeria's banking space to convert from microfinance to commercial bank.
A new financial institution is now up and running in the heart of Victoria Island, Parallax Bank. Having successfully converted from a microfinance bank to a commercial bank, the lead players at Parallax Bank highlight what will make the bank stand out from others.
The emergence of Parallax Bank into the Nigerian market and subsequently into the global market will strengthen the e-banking space. And with the introduction of customer stress-free and affordable products and services, our bank is set to offer competitive services that are a step ahead of others. We see our coming into the market as an opportunity to empower the banking public and to drive convenient and efficient commerce through our digital platforms.
Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the bank says the vision is to give the best quality service to customers.
What we are committing to our customers, you will have executive touch from the managing director's level across the board of executive management. We shall be knocking at your doors from time to time, not under the canopy of collecting from you or asking from you on what we can also give. And that will afford us the opportunity to listen to your issues and be in a position to prove our vision to the letter, which is financial solution provider.
The bank is also in tune with technological innovation with the Parallax mobile app, which offers customers the opportunity to create their unique account numbers, increase transfer limits, among other offers.
We're very interested in the economy of our country. We believe that there are still untapped potentials. So we're going to be supporting entrepreneurs and young people and, of course, SMEs.
Banking is going to migrate away from brick and mortar. And the more reason why we are laying less emphasis within that particular space, rather investing heavily in digital world, because we know that that is the future.
Parallax Bank Limited is a commercial bank with business operations in 3 geographical zones in Nigeria, which says it's ready to work towards being the preferred financial solution provider in the country.
And Teniola is next. Shobowale with some business news.
So easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Well, we begin with some welcome news. In a bid to crash the high cost of cooking gas in the country, the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Limited says it will supply 100% of its liquefied petroleum gas to the local market. The decision is coming 3 months after the company supplied its first propane cargo into the domestic market. A statement signed by an official of the NLNG explains that the move is designed to increase LPG availability in Nigeria, diversify its use and support the federal government's Decade of Gas initiative. The NLNG is currently the highest single supplier of LPG to the domestic market, with an estimated 400,000 metric tons supplied in 2021. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited generated total revenue of 2.992 trillion between January and November last year, representing a 34% decline from 4.564 trillion naira projected for the period. According to the corporation's monthly revenue and distribution report, the revenues generated fell short of target all through the period. A summary of the report indicates that the NNPC remitted a total of 10.536 billion naira to the Federation account in November, out of the 209.3 billion naira monthly projection, while the total amount remitted to the Federation account for the 9-month period stood at 522.203 billion naira, out of 2.302 trillion naira projected. Nigeria's Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, says the federal government has adopted the national policy for the 5th generation network, which will boost new technology and the country's digital economy. The minister, who made the announcement in Abuja, says following the adoption of the Nigerian digital economy's national policy for the 5th generation by the federal government, he's optimistic that the country will have the biggest number of 5G subscribers in Africa by the end of this year. He added that the National Information Technology Development Agency completed 499 ICT projects, estimated at $367 million last year. Meanwhile, the Pension Transitional Arrangements Directorate says it's on track to provide health insurance for senior citizens in the country. The Executive Secretary of PTAD, Chioma Ejikeme, made this known at the unveiling of the confirmation pilot test for the agency's I'm Alive platform for pensioners under the Defined Benefit Scheme in Enugu State, southeast of the country. She clarified that when the platform becomes fully operational, it would bring to an end the era of gathering pensioners out for field verification. And away from Nigeria, North Korean hackers stole almost $400 million worth of digital assets in at least 7 attacks on cryptocurrency platforms last year. A report by blockchain analysis company Chainalysis says the attacks, which is one of the most successful on record for cyber criminals in the East Asian state, mainly targeted investment firms and centralized exchanges. The company adds that the hackers used a number of techniques to siphon funds from the organization's hot wallets and then moved them into North Korea-controlled addresses. North Korea's government has denied being involved in the hack attacks. And back here, Nigeria's stock market index fell to rebound at the close of today's trading session as sell pressure on Dangote Cement, GTCO, and 15 other listed companies pulled equities value back by more than 80 billion naira. Will Ibong tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. It was a pretty red session at the NGX today as the anticipated rebound was not to be. The all-share index fell by 0.34%, giving back a large chunk of the gains it saw in Wednesday's session, no thanks to Dangote Cement, which lost 5 Naira off its share price. The spike in turnover can be attributed to the profit-taking seen in Dangote Cement and buy interest in stocks of Nigerian breweries and Boa Foods. Meanwhile, Boa Foods is back on the top trades chart, moving Transcorp to second place. Anyway, mixed sentiments are still trending at the NGX as investors bet on the fourth quarter earnings season. And that's the stock market report. I'm Will Ibon. Back to you.
Thanks a lot, Will. Meanwhile, let's find out how other major stock markets around the world ended Friday's trading session. And that's Business News Tonight. I'm Teniola Shobowale. It's back to Millicent for the rest of the news at 10.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Taniola. Meanwhile, the Ebonyi State Police Command said it has rescued 32 males and females, mainly between the ages of 16 and 17 years, from traffickers who allegedly dumped them in a two-room apartment located at Oposi Umuahara community in the Eza North local government area of the state. The State Commissioner of Police, Aliyu Garba, made this known while parading the suspected traffickers alongside the victims at the B Division of the command in Abakaliki, the state capital. He said the suspects allegedly trafficked the children from different parts of the country for forced labor and sexual exploitation. According to him, the victims were rescued following a case of a missing minor reported to the police by one Mrs. Nwankwo Ijoma, who hails from a village in the Ebonyi local government area, who stated that her daughter, 14 years, left their house in August 2021 and had since not been seen. Well, the United States says Russia is plotting to stage acts of provocation to create a pretext to invade Ukraine. The statement comes after a week of U.S.-Russian talks aimed at diffusing tensions. Earlier, Ukraine also accused Moscow of being behind a cyber attack on dozens of official government websites. For more on this and other international news, here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. More than a dozen Ukrainian government websites have been taken offline in a cyber attack that also targeted embassies. The spokesman for the country's security service said an investigation had begun. The foreign and education ministries were among those hit, along with embassies in the UK, US and Sweden. The EU's top diplomat, Josep Sorrell, condemned the attack and said the EU's Political and Security Committee and cyber units would meet to decide how to respond and help Kiev. Downing Street has apologised to Buckingham Palace for 2 staff parties in number 10 the night before Prince Philip's funeral. The gatherings, first reported by The Telegraph, took place on the 16th of April last year and went on until the early hours. The Prime Minister's spokesman said it was deeply regrettable that this took place at a time of national mourning. Boris Johnson was not at either party, but is facing increasing pressure to step down over COVID rule breaking at number 10 Downing Street. A UN Human Rights Office spokesperson has said that at least 108 civilians have been killed in airstrikes in the Tigray region of Ethiopia since the start of January.
At least 108 civilians.
Liz Throssell said another 75 had been seriously injured since the year began as a result of airstrikes allegedly carried out by the Ethiopian Air Force. The federal government has previously denied attacking civilians in Tigray. The UN also said the country stands on the edge of humanitarian disaster as fighting escalates and stocks of essential food for malnourished children run out. The World Food Programme said it would be distributing its last supplies of cereals, pulses and oil next week to Tigray, where more than 5 million people are estimated to be in need of food assistance. Uganda is set to destroy 400,000 unused coronavirus vaccines, which had been supplied for use in the north of the country. Most of the unused doses are Moderna and AstraZeneca. The batches are thought to have now expired. It comes as the country has reached less than half of its target to vaccinate 22 million people. Prince Andrew faces growing calls for him to lose or relinquish his Duke of York title from those in the city. The royal, who faces US civil action over sexual assault allegations, returned his patronages and military titles on Thursday. York Central MP Rachel Marskell said it was untenable for him to continue holding his title of Duke and association with the city. Prince Andrew has consistently denied the claims against him. Large crowds of Hindu worshippers have gathered on the banks of India's Ganges River for a holy bath in spite of a 30-fold rise in coronavirus cases in the past 1 month. In the northern state of Uttar Pradesh, thousands of devotees stood on the river's banks, with some taking a dip in the sacred river. India is again facing a surge in coronavirus cases, fueled mostly by the highly transmissible Omicron variant, but hospitalizations are low. Doctors had appealed unsuccessfully to the West Bengal State High Court to reverse a decision to allow the festival this year, worrying it will become a virus superspreader event. And finally, Melania Trump is auctioning off her signed hat with bids starting off at $250,000. She wore the white, wide-brimmed crepe hat in April 2018 for a state visit of French President Emmanuel Macron to the White House. Her website said a portion of the proceeds would go to charity. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Now to some sports news. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Millicent. Super Eagles interim coach Augustine Eguavoen insists Nigeria will not underrate Sudan when both sides meet on match day 2 at the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon. Coach Eguavoen rates Sudan highly and expects a tough game against them at the Rumde Adija Stadium on Saturday. The game will be played 5 p.m. Nigerian time.
So Sudanese team will not be an exception. We will approach them with the same way we did against Egypt. And they're a respected side. They are not a weak side at all. We'll play them with utmost respect. Sudan has equal strength as any other team in this tournament. You cannot look down on anybody. If you do that, you'll make a very big mistake.
Action continued today at the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon. Well, in Group B, the most anticipated top-of-the-table game involving West African rivals Senegal and Guinea ended in a goalless draw, while Malawi came from behind to beat Zimbabwe 2-1, giving the Flames a real chance to advance out of the group. In Group C, the Atlas Lions of Morocco secured their place in the round of 16 with a comfortable victory over Comoros, while Ghana's Black Stars were forced to a 1-0 draw by the Panthers of Gabon, who scored an equalizer in the dying moments of the game. Australia will delay efforts to deport men's top-ranked tennis player Novak Djokovic until his renewed legal challenge concludes. At an emergency hearing, government lawyer Stephen Lloyd told the judge that Australia would not detain Djokovic before an interview with immigration officials, and he will not be deported before his case is heard. Well, the Australian government revoked the tennis player's visa for a second time, which left the Serbian facing deportation. Britain's Andy Murray reached his first ATP Tour final since 2019 with a 3-set victory over Riley Opelka at the Sydney Tennis Classic. The 34-year-old fought back from a set down to beat the 25th-ranked American 6-7, 6-4, 6-4. Murray is preparing for the Australian Open starting on Monday, where he will play Georgian 21st seed Nicolas Basilashvili in the first round.
2-1.
The top seed Russian Aslan Karatsev also advanced to the final at the Sydney Tennis Classic. Karatsev battles to a 6-3, 7-6, 6-3 victory over British third seed Evans in a grueling match that lasted over 3 hours. While the world number 18 will face Andy Murray in the final. That's Sports News. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. Dispatch News.
Thank you, Tunde. And the main news again. 4 students of the Federal University Lafayette Nasarawa State were today kidnapped by gunmen who invaded the school management. Management of the institution asked security agencies to intervene by securing their release. Also today, the Ebonyi State Police Command rescued 32 trafficked teenagers aged between 16 and 17 years from traffickers. That's News at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.